There I was, like a kid in a candy store, wondering what shoes would best take me to the next level. Are you uninspired by your current shoes? You want to get into running, but you're not quite sure what shoes to invest in. You're quite confused with what you actually need versus, well, what's kind of the marketing, like buzzwords and like what's really like what do I actually need? Well, the good thing is, in this video, if you stick with me, I'm going to explain and take you on a journey on the shoes I use and what I recommend and how you can use shoes for different types of runs and what you actually need to just get started. Sounds interesting, right? So, thank you so much for joining. If this is the first time you're joining us, this is now the 6th video in a series in which I am taking you through everything you need to know about getting started with running, and this is kind of course, being the 6th video in the whole 7 video collection. I do appreciate you watching this. So when you watch to the end of this, what I would say is, of course, subscribe, because then the next video will come out tomorrow. But also, look to the right and you'll see there's a playlist for the other previous 5 videos in which I explain step by step what you need to actually get started, what you need to kind of do, and all the setup and prep, because I'm kind of front loaded the way I explain to get into running by focusing more on the run itself, and now kind of in the 6th and 7th video iterations, 7th being tomorrow, I'm going to kind of focus on the stuff, because I kind of want you to focus on getting into the idea of running itself versus being overwhelmed and thinking you need this or that. So it's like why I'm trying to sort of say, like, don't worry too much. So the thing is, you probably already have running shoes or have some shoes that can work as runners, and that's perfectly fine to use. But if you're kind of the type of person that feels transformed when they invest in something and really changes their identity in the sense that you see yourself as a runner and athlete, then this is a video for you. Because these shoes and these different types that you can try and use will really help to make you feel like you've got everything that you need to give you that confidence that, like, you are an athlete and that you are doing fantastic. All right. Now, like I sort of said, there's a lot of options, and the shoe market has expanded over recent years, meaning what used to be the case that people would just get a running shoe has become this whole sub niche, and everything's like just to kind of sell you more shoes. And that can be kind of frustrating, but also interesting, because I feel that the technology has come a long way and there's a lot of interesting developments in terms of what you can really benefit from as part of your training or integrating such shoes into your training, right? Because obviously every shoe company is trying to, like, say get this or that. Now, before I of course begin, I'm going to explain that I'm not sponsored in any way, shape or form by any companies. Everything I've purchased here has been with my own money, or as a result of being given a gift card from, say, like family, in terms of to get some shoes. So it's kind of more or less been my own money, my own choice, right? Again, me being a kid at the candy store, right? Trying to figure out what's going to be best for me to take me to that next level. Now, the way I see running shoes is kind of like how when I used to play, or when I play video games, you know when you play those role-playing games, right? And there is armor. There's different types of armor, right? There's the armor that's like lots of metal, it's really bulky, but it like protects you the most, right? It gives you the most defense buff, meaning that you're going to be protected from attacks more so. But of course, it's going to be a little bit slower. But then you've got other options, which are like quite a lighter armor made out of some type of material, or a weave, a canvas, a leather. You get the idea. It's going to still be protective, not as much as the metal armor, but more so going to give you that ability to maintain your speed. But it, might wear out quicker. So that's kind of like, and then of course, imagine something that's got metal and say leather canvas incorporated into the design, kind of like a mix of both. That's more or less where running shoes are, or how I see running shoes, if I was to say, explain to someone what to get. So if you followed along, you will at this point have understood that there are 3 types of runs we're saying to do. I mean, essentially your training is 80-20, meaning that 80% of your runs will be done at what's known as zone 2 pace, meaning you need something that can withstand lots of miles, be good to train in daily, and effectively just have that not be too expensive. So that's kind of like, because you're just getting into it, right? You don't have to like, you know, pay an exorbitant amount of money, and you shouldn't have to pay an exorbitant amount of money, right? So that's basically the first shoe, and probably the only shoe you actually need for a while. So let me explain what I would recommend, or what I use as my current daily trainer. So like we sort of said, the daily trainer, bringing it back to that analogy of the video game, is like the heavy armor. You want something that is just gonna last and going to protect your feet, hold up over a long time, so that you don't succumb to injury or the shoe fatiguing and they're not really supporting you. That's kind of what we're getting at. I mean, the shoe will be heavier because it won't have exactly the lighter race foams or combination of carbon plates, which we'll get to, and other fancy technology and features. But the point is that it will be able to be used over a longer period of time, being probably, say, 600 to maybe 800 kilometers. That's quite a lot of longevity with the shoe, right? Okay, well, Sal, what running shoe do you use as your daily trainer, which is for 80% of runs? Now, the current shoe I use is this one, the Nike Invincible 2, and the current version that they're out with is the Invincible 3. So of course, at the time of getting this, I got a substantial discount, meaning it was quite cheap. So I mean, with running, you don't need to get the latest shoe that's out there. If there's a model that's a year older or the model before, you'll still be fine to get it because it's effectively still brand new. So the thing about this shoe is, which I love, is it's got this really squishy foam called ZoomX, which is really, really good at absorbing and really protecting your body and giving you like a bit of extra energy back. I mean, it's not going to make you necessarily go fast, but you're just going to feel a bit springy. So it kind of helps to have it gives you like a bit of a joy in doing those daily runs. Because if they're going to like constitute the bulk of your training, then you want it to be as enjoyable as possible. And also, this outsole is incredibly thick and really, really durable, meaning that you can use it all year round for training. You won't have to worry about running when it's wet. You won't have to worry about turning as much because it is, like I said, that heavy armor, right? So that's the daily trainer I use. See, the thing about a daily trainer, and that shoe in particular, is that it will be able to do those zone 2 runs really well. It can also do runs that are slower to help with the recovery. And it can also do runs that are your interval run, the 20%, what we were saying before. I mean, it won't necessarily, say, be the easiest thing, but the shoe will actually still be able to perform it relatively well. Meaning, you have a shoe that can function for both your 80 and 20, right? Pretty good, right? I mean, it will function better for the 80, but if that 80 is most of what you're doing, wouldn't you rather that? Knowing that you're going to get the longevity out of the shoe, that shoe should be able to last me for maybe 600, 700 Ks before kind of the foam loses its energy and it starts to really kind of die a bit. You notice this when you compare a new shoe to a shoe that you just purchased from the exact same model. Okay, but what other options would you recommend? Okay, because you might not be able to get a Nike Invincible 2. Good question. What else I would recommend would be the Nike Pegasus 39. The current iteration of Pegasus is the 40. So this is a model before. It's lighter, faster, and cheaper. So if you can find one in your size, try them on, of course. 100% recommend that. But okay, you don't want to get Nike, no problem at all. What you can do is, or you want to try different brands, because even though I've recommended those shoes, so the Pegasus and the Invincible, they might not quite work for your foot. Although the good thing about the Invincible is that it's got a wider toe box. So if you do have wider feet, it's actually going to feel really comfortable for you. But like I said, when you go into a running store, please ask them to help you recommend a shoe that is going to be used as a daily trainer. Explain to them that you are seeking to do 80% of your runs at zone 2. And then also an interval run, the other 20%, and or races, which I've covered in a previous video. Which is why it's important to go back to see how this all kind of fits together, right? Because this now, like after you know the information, I'm saying, well, to give you the best thing or suggestion for that, here's what I'm saying. So you've got that back end context. So with that in mind, bonus points or bonus tip, go to a store that actually hires employees that are runners or quite into running, because they'll actually be able to give you their experience and kind of give you a recommendation on what shoe will be able to perform that daily trainer versatility, and also potentially the option to do the Speedwork too. Opposed to just kind of going to some generic running or just a shoe store and then not really getting a lot of the help. I mean, of course, you can do some research and listen to what I'm suggesting, just to get that really extra level of, I guess, advice. Consider that. Okay, so we have covered now the daily trainers, right? But what about the tempo? What if I was to have a little bit more money and I want to invest in a shoe that's going to help for the faster runs? And what type of shoe should I get? So the thing is, for these faster runs, they are hard. And they're different to the other type of runs because you're running at a faster speed. So you need a shoe that feels like comfortable to do that and will facilitate that in a sense. It might mean that shoe is really springy and has a lot of oomph behind it because it's really pushing to go faster, which means it might not necessarily serve as a daily trainer. Some can, some won't. It depends on how much on the end of speed it is and kind of what it's geared for as a shoe. So for me, I used to use this one, the Nike Zoomfly Flyknit, which I also somewhat use as a daily trainer. It's got a carbon plate in it, so it's really hard to bend. And what I would use is, I would use this for the tempo interval runs. But you see, the thing is, if you look at this, it's actually really worn down. So if I was to like land there and it's wet, this is probably not going to be that safe, and I'm more than likely not going to end up injured. So, like a kid in a candy store, I did some research and looked around and tried these shoes on. Again, it's important to try shoes on because not all shoes will work for you, not all shoes will fit. So this shoe was quite a snug fit for me. If I thought it was any wider, it just would not work and would not be comfortable, but fortunately it does, and I can benefit from it. So for my winner, or what I absolutely love to do my interval sessions in, to just really have that identity transformed that I'm the athlete, I'm in the zone, are these. The Nike, how cool is the colorway? The Nike Tempo Next Percent. The only thing is these shoes appear to be discontinued, as Nike is likely going to introduce the Nike Pegasus Turbo 4s this year. But if you can find these in your size, try them on for a good price, definitely get them. See, this rubber sole is really thick, and as you can see, it's really wide, which means as you get that speed and as you're landing, you're given this really stable like platform or spring to just go again, because you've got this, there's this plastic plate in it, which is sort of like the carbon fiber plate, but not quite that level. These air pockets, and the super lightweight ZoomX foam, which is similar to the Invincible, but slightly different in terms of the composition of But anyways, you get the point. This shoe is awesome for those speed runs because it basically tells you, come on, let's go faster. But the thing is, if you were to use it for slower runs, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work because you've got this like short and narrow point here in the transition. It just doesn't quite, it doesn't quite feel right when you land there. So it's more geared for those faster runs, which I guess is good because then you preserve that shoe longer because you kind of alternate between shoes. So because you can't really get this shoe at the moment, or you might have trouble, what would I recommend? I would recommend you get, I haven't tried this, but it seems to be very good and people are suggesting it, would be to get the Asics Novablast 4 or 3. 3, you can get a good deal on it because, sorry, the Asics Novablast 3/4 is a daily trainer, but it is a bit more expensive of a daily trainer and it's more geared for those speedier sessions. It's kind of like my Invincible, which can do daily training, and if you need to, it can do the tempos. This is geared a little bit more on the speed side. So that would kind of work as, of course, that like kind of functionality to do both. Or of course you can use, like I said, the Pegasus 39 because that can do the speed sessions probably better than I think the Invincible 2. I haven't tried the 39, but I feel it would do a pretty good job. The thing is, like I mentioned in the tempo interval run, it's really hard to do those runs. And for a tempo interval type of running shoe, you can use that for a race as well. So I don't really technically need a race shoe because I don't really do that much racing compared to my normal training and then the intervals. So it's kind of like, it is a little bit of a luxury, but if you are in a position or are in a point where you can afford a premium racing shoe, now these shoes are very expensive. I got this one for a good deal. The one I use, but on second thought, I'd recommend something different. The one I use, because I will eventually, I feel, do a marathon, I'll use these, is the Nike Zoomfly Nike AlphaFly Generation 1. This has a super lightweight Zoom X foam. It's got those pockets in the tempo. It's like this is the race version of the tempo. And it's super duper lightweight. Like you can actually see through the shoe, it's ridiculous. And that just makes you go. And the thing about this race shoe, which is really, really interesting, is that up to this point, if you've done your training, your 80-20, you've done your faster runs, you know what they feel like. You know they feel hard, right? But if you're going to do what I've recommended previously, your park runs and your actual racing, and you put on those, and you're like, okay, I need to run my fastest race time, or my the time at which I do my race pace is about like 4 minutes or just under. If you run in those shoes at about 4 minutes, it'll feel like you're running at about a 5-minute pace. It completely switches up your relative fatigue. It really, really helps push you that extra mile. Almost feels like cheating, and really help you. This is kind of where running shoes have benefited the most, and like it almost is technically like cheating to an extent. If you were to compare, say, that to just like a normal daily trainer, you do have an advantage, but of course you are paying for that. And that shoe is like the super lightweight, fast armor. Like it won't, well, they say it won't last forever, but I feel this generation AlphaFly 1, even if it is to lose a bit of its zing for a race, I feel like I'd still use it as a daily trainer or an easy run shoe and still have it in my stable. I mean, it's frustrating because I really wish Nike still did this shoe. They're in the 5th generation of this shoe, but I think since they made this, it's not quite been the same. The 1st generation Nike Zoomfly Flyknit is just an incredible shoe. I used this as my daily trainer. I used it as my interval running shoe. I used it as my race shoe and set my fastest time, 90 minutes and 30 seconds, in this shoe. And this was awesome. So it's almost like they knew this was too good. So they, no, I don't know, but like, I know they just kind of did shoes more focused at, like I said, certain type of runs to make you buy more shoes, maybe. So that's kind of like where I see it. So if I was to kind of like recap this, the first most important shoe that you need is your daily trainer. It's going to be cheaper, it's going to last you a long time, and it's going to be able to do your zone 2 runs the best, which is what you're mostly running at, even some of your slower runs too if you need a recovery run. But it's also going to be able to perform the interval runs too. Of course, if you have a bit more money, you can get a second shoe that can act as a racing speed shoe. Or if you want to invest in like a daily trainer that can do kind of everything, it seems like the Novablast is probably a good option for that based on what I've looked at. But, or even you could use the Pegasus. Like, don't feel that you have to get the best shoe just to show up to a race. The point of all our training, the building your conditioning, the speed work, is that you will have leveled up yourself anyway. You won't need the shoe. You are what is going to get you the mentality, the conditioning, the discipline. This is the pacing. This is what you need to succeed. This will get you that point. This, as much as I say the shoe is the armor, there's still many other aspects that you already have that will be able to effectively, kick butt, right? But of course, like if you do invest in, say, like race shoes, here's what I would recommend. If I was to recommend another type of like race shoe, looking back now, I probably would have gotten the Nike VaporFlies that are a little bit lighter for doing like something like a 5, a 10K, half marathon. The Alpha Flies are kind of more your marathon shoe, but will still do very well at a 5K. It's kind of like where I see it. So that's the thing. So to conquer the mountain in, I guess, style or in a way that you feel you are that, I would say, like, here are the shoes you need. Here's the actual shoes you need to invest in, and here's like, what it's going to be to help you. This will help you conquer life, right? So if you'd like to watch the next video, which is going to be coming out tomorrow, subscribe, and it's going to focus on clothing, what you'll need year round, right? Pretty cool. So with that, if you'd like some additional help with figuring out running shoes, running plan, how to get other specific questions you might have, of course, comment below. But if you kind of want that one-on-one tailored approach, we can ask any question you want and get the feedback and kind of really go about your journey. I would recommend you click the link below and you'll see a coaching offer in which you can set up a time that works for you, submit a bunch of questions to me, I answer them before our actual 60-minute consultation, and I'll help you through with what you need to succeed in having the plan, having the goals, having that accountability, and even sort of saying kind of like what shoes are going to work for you, in terms of doing that like research for you in terms of what your budget is and all these other little like finer details I can really drill in and help you with, right? To give you the confidence to know that you have, or you kind of want the fast track, or you want a bit of extra help to save you time. I can do that for you. Alternatively, if you actually want to conquer the mountain, like literally on a bike, I have a product called Life Cycles, in which I take you through everything you need to know about getting the bike, training on the bike, and kicking absolute butt in terms of nutrition, what to do off the bike, on the bike, and then also the recovery and the cleaning. I cover all that. So that's also in the link below. But yeah, through having the shoes, they aren't the be all end all. However, if you need that extra little motivation, extra little inspiration to feel that you are the athlete and to feel part of that and that you are at the starting line, the person, the man. This will help you a lot. This will help give you that extra confidence to know, like when you're at the store, you're like, okay, I want to try this, that. Is your shoe going to be better for this or that? So you can make an informed decision. You have the power. That's what I'm trying to get at with this video. Conquer mountains, conquer life.